Shared. Okay. Here we are. I think we're live in 4, 3, 2, 1.
I see you.
There we are. Meeting is now live streamed on Facebook.
All right. I just shared to my page as well. Thank you.
Okay.
And
so may I do a welcome?
Please.
So welcome everyone. I'm Noelle Marshall. I'm part of the Co-Creators Convergence. I'm happy that the conversation.cc is allowing us to bring content on Thursday nights. And so one of my dear friends that I want to introduce everyone to, because I think she has such important work, because at this time, where we need to go is from the heart mind, from the head mind, I got my anatomy mixed up, from the head mind to our heart mind. And my dear friend, Karen Trujillo Heffernan, who I've known for quite a while, is a beautiful being who specializes in doing this, teaching this, and she also specializes in working with families and family systems. So without any further ado, Karen, I'm going to turn it over to you. Unless you have any special requests, do you want to be in speaker view? Do you want gallery view? What is your preference?
So thank you, Noelle. This is great. I hope this will be a conversation, which I'm still learning about the conversation.cc. So I'm at least just telling people about it and learning as I go along. And what I've experienced thus far, I'm so excited about. And Noelle, I don't know, I've been doing some FaceTime lives. Let me know if you can't hear me, because I'm getting notices that I have an unstable internet connection. I've been doing some Facebook lives on Tuesday, Thursday on my Surfin Your Soul page, and Noelle and Bob come up a lot because they're phenomenal co-creators and connectors, and we're dear friends, and we like to laugh a lot. And I said this the other day, and I don't know if Noelle was on, but the thing about Bob and Noelle, I said sometimes I'm a little slow to the uptake. They've got so much going on if you know them at all. And I said, Bob and Noelle are like if you imagined a hurricane and you talk about the eye of the hurricane, they're in the hurricane. They're literally the eye of the hurricane of evolution. They're evolving while the hurricane of evolution is sweeping through the world. And I think that's one of the best ways. And then just to put a little extra sprinkles on it, you can hear, from the California coast all the way through the whole world, Noelle's laughter all the way, So
I better mute myself.
Well, then Noelle, you and I will be in good company because people always talk about my laughter, so we'll laugh together.
All right. I'm always looking for laugh partners. Laughter yoga.
There you go. You got one. You got one.
And, I don't know about all of you, but one thing that I can attest to is that, I love my big heart, and it's so sensitive and kind and all that good stuff. Yet, as Noelle, I get so serious sometimes because I care so deeply. So how do I balance that with some levity and joy? Because that's what bursts and breaks open. And that's been one of my biggest growing experiences.
Ecclesiastes. Real simple. Remember Ecclesiastes. Yes. Time for everything. Time to be serious. Time to be joyful and playful. They all have their function.
Absolutely.
Yes. So
that's my take. And you.
So one of the things about living from that heart space, I've learned that I have more of a capacity to be expressing every emotion in the moment. So it could be crying and laughing, and we'll talk a little about HeartThread, a couple technical things about it, and we'll try some out. Yet when I give sessions with clients, it's phenomenal how you could have somebody sobbing from this deep trauma, and within literally seconds, they're laughing and they can't even understand it.
You go. You talk my language, sister.
So that's the beauty of the heart. That's the heart language. And so that's what we'll be weaving through, and we'll be talking about this evening. And it's 1 hour, Noelle, so I know my time. What's my time?
It's an hour, but we can go longer. I don't think there's anything definitely scheduled. There might be a jam session, and we'll do a breakout session if there is. I'm working with Christopher on that.
Okay, perfect. So one more little thing about
what you got to do, lady.
One more thing about Conversation CC. again, learning as I go. So, you know, with Noelle's invitation here, I've invited my dear friend, and I think she might be on the call. I think I saw her, Dina, yes, hi, Dina, just give a wave there. And she'll be speaking next week at this time, and then I'll be hosting her. So I'm sort of paying attention to what Noelle while I'm sharing with you, and also inviting each and every one of you who might be new to this platform to be aware that this is the opportunity that the conversation is providing for all of us. So really beautiful.
Right. Then Dina will pass a baton to someone, and we want to just keep passing it on. Maybe it'll be Elsie, maybe it'll be Sheila, maybe it'll be Marco. Who knows?
Yeah. So, so welcome each and every one of you. I know a few of you. I'm happy to see a particular someone that I know quite well, who's been in my life for about 30 years, one of my sons. I'm the mother of 4 boys. And I feel so honored because something that's come out of this year, 2020, is I have 4 boys. The oldest has been doing these mindfulness meditation groups on Thursdays, mindfulness sitting group. So it's like this, a Zoom call. And I started to join, and then I saw my other son start to join, and I thought, this is really amazing to be doing this with family, and then to see all the people that he's reached out to. And it reminded me of when people talk about technology and all the negatives of technology and texting, and you're always on your phone. Yet when my first son went to college in New York, and he's still there, he hasn't ever come home, he's 31, 32, I had this awareness about how much I valued technology. When at 1 o'clock in the morning, at 3 o'clock in the morning, I might get a little text from him between freshman year to senior year. Freshman year was a little more like, I need you, good night, I love you, I'm crying, but everything's okay, you know, in a text message. And I got to learn how I could hold this heart space. He had brought it into my awareness that he needed a little more attention because of a quick text message. And then he knew I was there for him. And that is what we're witnessing this year. I mean, technology's been here, it's been used for good in many occasions. And with the stay at home, we've been able to gather in these beautiful groups. So I'm so grateful for that. And even in that same experience as a mother, I was quite judgmental about kids using texting, you know, in the house from room to room. Yet one night my teenager is, you know, texting me, I love you, good night, I had a really hard day. And I just thought, I could have been like, why don't you walk across the room and talk to me? But there was too much pain in there. And something was keeping him from doing that, yet at least he could branch out that way. So the thing about the cell phone and technology is I was preparing something to speak to a group of high schoolers. I never quite made it there to that speak, but I was preparing about these personal cellular devices. And oftentimes, you know, some friends would come over and they'd be like, oh, you're so lucky we don't have a cell phone. My mom won't let me have a cell phone. And it dawned on me. And I talked to a couple of the kids, you know, who were coming over. I never had this chance yet to talk to the high schoolers in the gym about this. Each and every single one of them has a cellular device that communicates with themselves and with people all over the world. And I'm pretty sure you all can tell me what that cellular device is. Who wants to say it out? Anyone? Anybody? I see Julie. The heart. We have this magnificent heart that is a cellular device that has such powerful ability to communicate. So I just thought it could be so much fun, you know, to
you're saying like a heart cell versus
your heart. Our physical heart is a cellular, like a cellular device.
Yeah, Dana knows a lot about that too.
Where is Dana? Let me see there. Yes. And are you heart math? You know a lot about heart math?
Yes, I was a research scientist there for 12 years.
Oh, this is my dream come true. Somehow Noelle always manages to help me make my dreams come true. So I'm going to weave this way. I'm really good at jumping around and then bringing it all back together. So I am going to be offering you tonight, in short, a modality called HeartThread. So we'll be tasting that and I'll be telling you a little bit about that. The first time I experienced HeartThread, thanks to my dear friend, Raphael Weissman, who I want to give a shout out to because it's his birthday today. So happy birthday, Raphael, in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And he was good friends with Flo Aivia Magdalena from Soul Support Systems, and she brought this modality through called HeartThread. I had a little awareness of heart math, and I intentfully chose not to read anything about heart math until I ingrained HeartThread into my system as a modality. The moment I learned it, I said, the second I told the teacher, as soon as you start letting other people train this modality, I want to be your trainer. So that all happened. I've trained, Raphael and I together trained about 40, 50 people in New Mexico when I first moved there. So it took me about 3 years. I knew of Greg Braden for the last 25 years. So all of his work resonated with me. I know I have one of his books sitting here, Resilience from the Heart. And once I got HeartThread ingrained in me, I began to read about heart math. And heart math scientifically proved and supported everything that HeartThread does. And I don't know if any of you ever do this, but maybe you think you kind of have to do everything yourself. Sometimes I've had moments like that. So I just realized I don't need to know all of the scientific research. It's all there. Pretty much every Facebook Live I do, I mention heart math as a source. I wasn't called to do the work because I can also be that student who wants to take every single training. But I realized I don't need to be called to do the work. I have my piece. I encourage other people if that's meant for them. So I am really excited there, when we're sharing, to hear a little more about heart math and anything that you want to chime in on this. Because what a gift that I can go within my own heart or offer a HeartThread session to somebody, and in the opening share with them, when we are connected in this space, the center of the heart field, we have the potential to course correct, to rebalance, to realign generations forward and backward, to do this instantaneously. And any other person in the world who might be going through an issue that, say, one of my clients is going through while we're giving a session, they could have a shift simply because of this depth and perfection of connection in the heart space, which is unconditional love. So it's all very exciting. I want to do a HeartThread, and I'm just trying to see if there's any need. I'll just try to give you a 2-sentence, I'm Karen. I have 4 amazing heart-centered, I like to say boys, but I guess the truth is that they're young men from age 25 to 31. And it's been just a joy to watch how they're taking their amazing gifts out into the world and sharing them in their relationships. And it's one of my greatest joys to be their mother and to also allow myself to receive their wisdom. So that was a lot of my life for the last 30 years. I knew when I turned 50, which was about 4.5 years ago, that I'd be focusing on Surfin Your Soul, which is my business. I'm a family coach. The intent of Surfin Your Soul is to work with families so that parents can foster their child's soul development, their soul truth, their soul path. And I've learned that one of the most powerful ways to access our soul truth is to go through the heart. So I've been in early childhood education. I ran a home daycare. I was a teacher, a director. I was in retail for about 15, 20 years. I learned so much, from business management on that side. And I also learned that once I was done raising children on that hands-on way, I wanted to spend every other moment of my life cultivating our heart intelligence and our heart connection and striving towards what I call the grand family reunion. So if you know me, you know that I love block parties. I love parties. I love celebrating. And I have this vision of the grand family reunion, and that's when each and every person on this planet remembers the truth that we are all one family. And I am so excited because I met a friend of Noelle's yesterday, and she is preparing something to have a party that I'm talking about, this grand family reunion at the end of the year. And Noelle, somehow, maybe you could put something up in the chat about her name or how we could support her. She has a radio show. I'm already forgetting her name. I met her yesterday, and she's doing the event. Yes, in Sedona, at the what do you call it? The winter solstice?
The winter solstice, December 21st. She wants to have a mass humanity awakening.
Yes.
Schedule that.
Yes.
And I'll put Caroline's name in here in the chat. And she has a radio show called Awaken to Onenessradio.org. And I'll put that in there as well.
Thank you. Because the people, right. And the people here and the people I'm seeing that are here, they've shared that this is a passion of theirs. And this is the type of work that they're cultivating in the world. So excited about that. So before we start a little bit of HeartThread, does anyone have a question or a comment, actually? Share, I mean, something that maybe is stirring in your heart. I'd love to hear it. You could just unmute yourself and share.
And talk, or if you want to wave at Karen, you can do that.
Anybody?
Okay, David, go ahead. Unmute yourself.
I mentioned this to Karen before we went on recording, but I just want to chime in that everything she's been talking about, the path of the heart and following the path of our emotions to the truth in healing, has kind of like been my life's path. So you're talking my language, and I appreciate that. I'm looking forward to seeing what this dance tonight brings us. So carry it on.
Thank you. And then Dana was going to say something maybe?
Yeah, well, I'm curious about what the HeartThread is, and something else that you said just sparked something. You said you like block parties, and it just reminded me, I don't know if you know this, but we have something here at the Conversation every week, every Friday, called the 24-hour block party. Did you know about that?
So I literally just sort of heard something about block party, and I figured like if I threw it out there, I'd learn more really quick. So thank you.
It's one of the most happening days here at the Conversation, because it goes from 7 a.m. Pacific time all the way through, I don't know, 9 or so Pacific time, maybe longer, and with different sessions, all focused around really transforming life on Earth, essentially. Saving, healing, and transforming life on Earth is the broader mission of this conversation. And maybe I or someone else from the Conversation could put that link to the 24-hour block party in the chat if you want to, or if anybody wants to find out.
Please do, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is wonderful. Yes, Noelle.
Karen, I'm just going to jump in and say that it was Flo Magdalena that brought this through, correct?
Yes.
And Flo Magdalena, some of you may be familiar with her book called I Remember Union. And it's a fabulous, fabulous book. I can see some head nods there, Dina, Talia, and myself, I know. So she's a very, very special being. And I just wanted to mention that. And then Marco, maybe you can put something in where the 24-hour block party. So is the block party link different from this link we're using now? Do you use a separate link for the block party?
No, it's here on this Zoom room,
Okay.
But there's a whole page that has the schedule and all the offerings, all the topics that are going to be talked about. And so
okay.
you can go to that.
Link is in the chat now.
Site
Okay,
for
thank you.
information. But you come to this room, same room for the block party. So tomorrow, Friday, starting at 7 a.m. Pacific time.
And that's really another one of my passions, is connecting, connecting people. I mean, I always try to want to hold on to everybody forever. And I'm learning that, there's a way I think I can do that more energetically, which would be healthier. And I've learned this about myself the last 3.5 years. I've had a little more space to just focus on my business in the last 3.5 years since I not actively raising 4 children and running to PTA meetings and this and that and events. And so it's really fun to be able to say, this is what I love so much. And so one thing I've done is, no matter, anytime I'm speaking or sharing or giving a free talk about HeartThread at the library, or doing one of our workshops that we offer, that's, a 3-hour, workshop, or our training to become a HeartThread facilitator, I love passing along resources, because it's someone just recently, I heard them say, I think her name is Lori, was on Instagram, but she just said, if you're talking to the doctor and you're talking to the store clerk, our mind is sort of conditioned to, oh, the doctor is what's important here, you should listen to him. Yet she was inviting us to be like, you're feeling that you resonate more with the store clerk, so you really want to listen to what they're saying. So for me, it's the resonance. So that's going to be one of our key words here. When we work in the heart space, what do you resonate with? Follow that. When we say follow our heart, these sayings that we just say, so easily, follow our heart, follow that resonance. And I can kind of think of a lot of times when I wanted to follow my heart growing up, and for different rules and regulations, a little bit of Catholic school, I got talked out of it, or I wasn't willing to be the rebel. I followed these rules that did not resonate with my heart. And sometimes that was the way a teacher was treating a child. So, and that didn't just happen to me in grade school. That happened to me, Noelle knows, that happened to me when we were with one of our spiritual teachers one time. And
till we divorced her.
And I didn't stand up and say something because I was giving her the authority. So for me,
a lot of us did.
Yeah, yes. And we're shifting those paradigms. And I mean, look at our political arena. We're shifting these paradigms of authority and following our heart. And one of the reasons that HeartThread resonated with me so profoundly is because when I sat in front of Flo, I was pretty adamant that I was not going to sit in front of another teacher. I just left 5 years of one teacher in November, and in January, Raphael calls me and tells me Flo's going to be somewhere near my backyard, and it'd be good if I went and saw her. And I'm like, no way. I'm not getting involved in another group like this. Yet my heart knew, and I went, and of course I signed up, and here I am, the HeartThread. There's 2 things that are the core principles of HeartThread. There's more, yet there's 2 foundations. HeartThread is about bringing in self-authority and releasing self-doubt. Bringing in self-authority and releasing self-doubt. Now, this is coming from a little kid who's, I have 5 siblings, 3 brothers, an older sister, and a younger sister. And I had a nickname of Doubting Thomas when I was little. And so I did doubt a lot. And as I got to learn more about myself and be more in my heart, and, through HeartThread and other healing modalities, the reason I became so doubtful is because when I was born, when I was 2 and 3 and 4, when I was in my early years of education, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade, I was speaking these truths. And I was told that I was wrong, that I was crazy, that that's a bit of witchcraft. I was told these things that I slowly began to believe. So for me to hear that there is this modality that I could experience that brings in my own self-authority, releases self-doubt, I was thrilled, and it was exactly what happens when you do a HeartThread session, or when you experience that. And I always do say this as well. HeartThread, yes, for sure, and any modality that's coming from the heart, any conversation that's coming from the heart center, then we are in our own authority.
Karen?
Yes.
I was wondering, one year you and Raphael came to CCC and you did HeartThreads. I saw some amazing experiences there. If there's anyone who was part of that, that had a HeartThread, whoever's had a HeartThread, just raise your hand, just get an idea. Yeah, Dina and Elsie, and I don't know if they even tell you, I guess not, but I saw some amazing, particularly with our friend Nicole, transformations just from 15 minutes. It was pretty amazing. But I just thought I'd throw that in there. But I'm hoping we're going to get to do some somehow.
We are going to get to do some. I think, Elsie, did you want to say something?
Just unmute, Elsie.
I wanted to mention, since Noelle brought that up, that the experience at CCC, even though it was short, it was very powerful for me. It was incredibly powerful. And I remember by the time you were finished with me, I was sobbing and letting things go. And, you know, it was a really an amazing experience. But I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed that personally, that with the expansion in the energy that's been happening, and it's becoming more and more observable with the pandemic and with the changes in how much compassion there is developing in the universe and all of that. I noticed that I feel different, and it's not just a matter of getting up in the morning and saying, today I feel different. It's literally a visceral, it's a fullness that I feel in my heart and in my solar plexus. And what I think I'm allowing is much more of a heart-centered experience and focus in my life that moves where I can manifest that with other people. I notice that I'm observing more. I'm not judging nearly as much as I was. I've had some experiences since the beginning of March that have allowed me to come to more understanding of myself and also more clarity. And one with my son that was really, really powerful. So I'm wondering if anyone else, if you're feeling that, Karen, or you're noticing, or if anyone else is experiencing anything similar, because for me, it's been really powerful.
Yeah, that's so beautiful, Elsie. Thank you for sharing that. And I myself have felt that, and I'll relate one aspect of that to just to draw back, because when you mentioned your HeartThread session, there's something about when Flo taught us the HeartThread. And if I didn't mention, her website is Soul Support Systems. And you can imagine the scaffolding inside of your body. And when we do the HeartThread statements come from your body. We connect in the heart field, yet it's information that's coming from your body. And that's a really big point of clarification. While we all meet in the center of the heart, in that heart field, many things can happen. We could hear voices from, loved ones who have passed on, or all these different things. Yet for the core work of HeartThread, it's really important to remember that the statements that are coming out are literally from your body's intelligence, knowing what wants to come off and be anchored in. So if you could imagine the scaffolding that you had all these limiting beliefs on, and as the statements come out, that you're saying them aloud, and the statements are unique because I wait to hear in my head and I ask you to repeat it, the scaffolding disintegrates. So there's literally nothing for that limiting or false belief or past trauma to grasp onto anymore. And what's left in your physical body is space for your light. So I will feel that often after HeartThread sessions, after living in the heart space. And, Dana may or may not have a statement to this, yet, Heart Math so beautifully talks about our coherent state. And that's where I just let the facts go. I've heard them thousands of times, but the number of hertz where we are in our coherent state, placing our hand on our heart gets there. HeartThread gets there. The Heart Math practices get us to the coherent state. And if I'm in that over here in California, and Elsie, I forget where you live, if you're in...
Yeah, I'm in Michigan. Yeah.
In Michigan, we're going to feel it. Mm-hmm. And right now where you and I are vibrating, we're feeling it in that loving sense. Mm-hmm. Yet do you understand why? Yes, I believe that each and every one of you on this call understands why we're also feeling the pain, the fear, this political craziness and incoherence. Let me use that word, the incoherence of what's happening on our planet right now. We're feeling that. So even more important to cultivate ourselves as islands of coherence. And I did get that term from something Dana knows. But
The
yeah,
global coherence pulse.
thank you. Yes, global coherence pulse. So yeah, did anyone else maybe want to share about what Elsie was putting out, like how you're feeling as far as that question she posed? You could just unmute and speak. You could raise your hand. Talia?
Yes, I could probably share something. Elsie, thank you for that question. And it does seem kind of amazing to me how you could have a question in your heart and the answer comes, or some kind of guidance comes to, yeah, just, okay, well, for example, my brother, Eric, it lives in Longmont, Colorado, which is very close to where we go. We used to go every year in Loveland, but he is someone I really connect with. And he has just vanished in communication with all my sisters. I have 5 sisters and a brother, and none of us have heard anything from him. It's just like, wow. And I have one sister who lives there in Longmont, and somehow they just have a little rift anyway, so it's difficult. But I don't know, I just felt this in my heart we've got to find out where Eric is. I mean, I just felt a concern. Called one sister, and yeah, Dave told me, oh yeah, I felt like, well, let's just drive up to Colorado and find out what's going on with Eric. Oh yeah, and some of you know him. He came to CCC one year. Yeah. And anyway, so this COVID thing, I don't know if I want to drive all the way to Colorado and then we have to quarantine when we come back to New Mexico. They said that's what is given as the instructions now. I don't know. So, okay, I call one of my sisters who's in touch with my other sister, and she found my sister, and she got in touch with where he is. And he's alive and well, and she went to see him today. I haven't heard anything from that. But I mean, I just breathe so much easier. And who knows, it might have, helped a rift between my sister and brother. But also just the concern, the care. It's just that you have a question in your heart, it goes out, it goes up, however, and then the answer comes. And I'm so grateful for that. So I don't know if that's an answer to your question, Elsie, but I felt a strength of oomph. Yeah, go ahead.
I think that one of the things that's come from my experiences, I'm becoming more aware really of who I am and what who my true self is, and there are others on this call that have heard me say this before in other conversations. The thing that is becoming most recently is the ability. I just seem to have. I don't have any anger towards anybody. There are a few people politically that I could have a little anger about, but that I'm beginning to even to put aside too, and I'm finding my little mantra is just observe, 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 and if others are different from me, including my son, if he needs to be in this particular space, which he was very clear about, then I can learn from that. And I did. And I allowed myself to be compassionate with him, to not judge him, but I did do a lot of clarification. If there was blaming, coming to me, I didn't want to be the victim. I didn't want to be on that codependent triangle. So I didn't want to be the victim. And I would say, I won't be the victim for what I don't know. And so we became much more clear with one another. So there's a clarity that's come from the experience. And there's the words that I use: clarity, compassion, and a willingness just to observe and step back and say, and some of my little term is, it's not my monkey, it's not my zoo. I can't live in that person's body and make decisions for them. But it's a wonderful, wonderful feeling to be able to know more who I am. But it comes from the heart. That's why I was checking, with what Karen was talking about. There's a real fullness that I can feel viscerally. I can just sit. I feel my whole body feels full as a result of it, and it's an amazing experience.
Yeah, that's really beautifully said. And that's one of the gifts of HeartThread and being in our heart, is that we can shift what's in us. We can go within our heart. We can take care of our side of it. And again, making reference to the coherent field, when we focus on that with pure intent and love, it might still be messy. Doesn't mean we're not maybe yelling and screaming every now and then, but with pure intent and love, then others will have a shift in our family units and around us. So that's what's really beautiful. So I would like to do a little HeartThread. I would like to preface that I can hear that someone's looking for me. So if I get interrupted and you hear noise, like someone opening the door and calling my name, that might happen. Let's see. So with HeartThread, what we're going to be doing is, let me do a little time check here. Okay, good. So we're going to, you do what you feel is comfortable for you. And you can join in exactly how we are. I'm sort of also looking at this because my phone closed and I wanted to keep this live party going on my Facebook page. It'll be the beautiful thing about being in the heart, and what I always let my clients know when we go into a HeartThread, and maybe you might be feeling a little bit nervous, our body, when we're in the heart field, will not take us where we're not ready to go. So there's a beautiful built-in safety net, safety container. It's an extremely safe container. And I actually happen to be born with that gift of safety. I got to live in a place of safety. I cultivate safety. I'm that person that, I'm walking through the airport and somebody stops them and they tell me their whole story, and didn't always understand that, but I understand now. This heart container, there's a lot of safety there and love, and people feel that and they want to express, and they want a piece of safety for themselves. So I get really passionate when it comes to teaching others how they can create this safety field. And it's not creating it so much as getting into it. And everything we're doing with HeartThread is, there's formal things to learn. If you want to become a practitioner, then yes, there's a simple 3-day training and you go through some, a pretty, easy, simple, involved practice. Yet you can do this. We call HeartThread selfies. So when we're done, you'll understand what I'm talking about. You can do this with one another. What I'm about to do with you, you can say, hey, I just heard this. I'm not a trained HeartThread facilitator, yet I'd like to try this out with you and see what happens. It's fascinating. I have a lot of teenagers who are doing it, and they'll call me up and say, we did it. Oh my gosh, I said exactly what they were feeling inside of them. It's just so beautiful. So what we can expect is if you're in a place where you can get your feet grounded, and I'm actually going to shift a little so that I can do that. Getting your feet grounded, somehow connected a little bit to the earth for a moment. we're going to be closing our eyes, and the way I'm going to first start it out is that I'm going to say a statement that will be coming to me, and it will be picking up through all of you, through your bodies. And I'm going to ask all of us to say it out loud. So you can be muted or you can be unmuted. And we don't have to worry if it, like Noelle says it, and then, someone else on the line, Marco, says it like a few minutes after, if you happen to be unmuted. None of that matters. If you feel to say it aloud, whether you're muted or not, I really invite you to, because as many of you know, one of the greatest healing powers is vibration. So the vibration of our voice is a part of what is contributed to the healing process. So we'll do a little centering. I'll ask you to say a word or a statement aloud. You'll repeat that. I'll continue with that for a few moments, and then I'll close it. So does anybody have a question or clarification that they'd like made? Nope. All right. And then Noelle, I'll just let you be my, if I do close my eyes, just say something to me if, something's not coming through, if there's any technical thing that needs attention. All right, so everyone, just for a moment, go ahead and close your eyes and let's take a deep breath together. And I've got my knees on the earth right now. So if you have some part of your body, your feet, just for the moment, grounded to the earth. And go ahead and bring your right hand to your heart. And see if you can press into your body and if you can even feel your heartbeat. And really what I'd like to bring attention to is your heart rhythm. Each and every one of us has a unique heart rhythm, just like we have a unique fingerprint. It is our own tapestry, our own rhythm, our own uniqueness. So breathe into that for a moment. Perhaps taking a moment to honor your heart for everything it does for you physically, emotionally, energetically. And then let's bring our left hand to our right, and let's do this slowly. And as we do this, if your eyes are closed, I'm doing the same. And this is a way that we are connecting. It's almost as though we're reaching out and holding one another's hand. We're connecting our heart rhythms to one another, and we're linking up, so to speak, for the purpose of this session. And just breathing in from that space. Taking a moment to imagine how you would envision the rhythm and the pulse of the earth. The earth has its own unique heartbeat, heart rhythm, heart pulse, and we're connecting into that now. So from that center, I'd like you to take a breath and draw it all the way through your heart, our heart fields. Take it all the way up through the top of your head, beyond the skies, heavens, universe, connecting above, and then one more breath from above. And when we connect this way in all four directions, from the core of our heart, from the space of unconditional love, we open up the doors of possibility. And this is where I spoke of the potential to course correct, to rebalance generations forward and backwards. That means that there's the potentiality, if you have a physical ailment, you could clear that here and now from this space. Let's say it's genetic, it's in the DNA, it's been in the family forever. You could clear that in this moment, and your children's children will not bring it through. Physical, emotional, spiritual ailments, challenges, fears. And because of this group, the conversation and what I sense is a bit of their mission. I'm already feeling that tap into where we are in this moment in time in our nation with our health, our wellness, truths, untruths, political systems, educational systems, all of that is getting weaved into, I sense that it's coming from each and every one of you having your different platforms that you're so passionate about. So I can feel that now and feel the openings there. So I'm going to ask you to invite you, if you'd like to say aloud this first statement. I fully trust and believe in. And if anybody wants to unmute and say it aloud with me, that'll be wonderful. I fully trust and believe in.
I fully trust and believe in
The depth and truth.
the depth
Depth
and
and
truth,
truth.
The wisdom
wisdom
and certainty
and certainty
of who I am.
of who I am
And
And what I have
and what I have
I have
to offer,
to offer,
to offer
to share,
to share,
and to give
and to give
this planet
this planet
and every soul
and every soul
every soul.
inhabiting the planet.
inhabiting the planet.
And for any of you to feel, you can keep your hands on your heart. If you feel to put, I'm feeling called to maybe one or two of you place your hand on your solar plexus. And wait, hold on one second. No, thank you. Placing your hand on your solar plexus. I am able
I am able
to rest
to rest
To rest
in the peace,
in the peace,
peace,
the comfort
the comfort
of uncertainty,
of uncertainty,
my own
my own
own
and others.
and others.
I release
I release
peace.
this glaring,
This
this glaring
this heavy
that's heavy
heavy
notion
notion.
that time is running out.
that time
Time is running out,
And I remember
and I
I
remember
remember
that even if
that even if
my time
my time
here on earth
here on earth
is running out,
is running out,
as I know it,
I know it.
my time
my time
as a light
is a light
and as love
and as love
is everlasting
is everlasting
and can never be extinguished.
never be extinguished.
I remember this truth.
I remember this truth.
I am enough.
I am enough.
I have enough.
I have enough.
I have done enough.
I have done enough.
And I am doing enough.
And I am doing enough.
And just take one or two really deep breaths. Maybe one or two of you more so than others. You'll probably feel it, or even shake your body out a little. And you, if you feel, to put your hands on your heart again or rest them where they're comfortable. I awaken and I invite
and I invite
the effortlessness,
the effort,
the grace,
The grace
the grace,
and the freedom
and the freedom
to live in each moment
to live in each moment
precisely as I am meant to be.
as I am meant to be.
With my whole heart,
with my
my whole
heart,
my whole being,
my whole being,
my whole being,
and all of my light.
and all of my life.
I offer
I offer
and I live
and I live
the truth of freedom.
the truth of freedom.
I'm even aware
I'm even aware
that I can
that I
that
can
I can
rest my words
rest
my
words
verbally
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 and or written
or written
or written,
and simply
and simply
and simply
be freedom.
freedom.
Live freedom.
live
Live freedom.
Express freedom
Express freedom
from the silence and strength of my beingness.
from the silence and strength of my beingness.
And as I do this,
and as I
And
do,
as I do this,
as we do this,
as we do this,
we live in the truth of unity.
we
we
live
live
in
in
the
the
truth
truth
of
of unity.
unity.
We gently, lovingly, and fiercely
We gently,
And
lovingly,
fiercely
and
fiercely,
and passionately
and passionately
remind others
remind
remind others
what it is
What it is.
what it is
to live united.
to live.
to live united.
So I'm going to go ahead and pause it there, although more statements could come through, but that's a good sort of end of a chapter, so to speak. And just as you feel to open your eyes, go ahead and do so. You can take a moment. I'm going to have a drink of water, which is always a wonderful thing to do when you're clearing things. Lemon water. So I'm going to simply ask, one of the things when I give a HeartThread session with somebody or any of our facilitators do HeartThreads is, it is really designed to bypass the mind. And so after a session, I encourage, invite to not jump back to the mind to sort of analyze. Yet I would love for, if anyone feels, to share from your heart, maybe if a statement resonated with you, or maybe how this experience made you feel, or anything that you would like to share that isn't necessarily getting into analyzing.
I love the feeling of freedom.
freedom and sovereignty.
Mm.
And even though I had my eyes closed, I really felt connected, like just having your little pictures like in my head as we were stating the statements was really beautiful. Some of you I know, some of you I don't, but I felt really just beautifully connected from that heart space. Thank you, Karen.
Mm.
I think I resonated with all of it pretty much. It felt good to say. Those things felt like, yes, I want to say that. and I liked that that it ended up in unity, which is kind of a synchronicity, because I just finished welcoming the caravan of unity to my current home of Las Vegas today, and in preparation for the unity well, it's part of the Unity movement and many upcoming events and Peace Weekend and 11 Days of Unity and many things. But it was just like, oh wow, now we're in unity. That like and we went through all that and we ended up in unity. That's nice.
Beautiful.
That's so beautiful, Dana. And definitely before we close, I'd love for you to share about that, because Noelle just sort of tapped me into that whole process. So I'm really excited about the caravan. And I mentioned it on my live yesterday. As soon as I learned HeartThread, I wanted to go buy there's a little hippie gypsy in me, like an Airstream. Okay, a lot. I love having Noelle keep me honest. Paint an Airstream and do this love tour across the country and just give HeartThreads wherever I stopped. And it could still happen. Yet yesterday I said on my Facebook Live, it's happening. I might not physically be on it, but it's happening. And that's the caravan. And so definitely before we close, I want you to share about that. So the thing with the statements on my end is, I don't know what I'm going to say. And sometimes I'm giving a HeartThread session to someone and it's like, I fully trust. And before I even ask them to say this, I say in my head, yeah, what are they supposed to say? I fully trust. And, I'm waiting for the end. It will not come until the words come out, I fully trust. And I also got to learn that that's part of that safety net I was telling you, because I've witnessed clients, if they're not ready, they won't be able to say those words, I fully trust. And then that next word won't come and we'll go into a different direction. And it's beautiful and powerful. And I've witnessed it on my end as a facilitator. I've witnessed it when we do the trainings. I've got to learn, and I've had to say some crazy things sometimes on these statements. And I've trusted, it makes no sense to me. And the person will be like, how did you know that? That was probably the most exciting thing. I know one time I had a young girl in her early 20s. She came for a session. She had had one session with me. She came back about a month later. I don't always remember everything that we've said in the past. The statements are starting to come, and her throat it's just blocked. And these statements it's safe to speak. I can breathe. I can't. These statements are trying to come, and then I'm even getting a little stuck. And then all of a sudden, I said to her, it's almost as though the umbilical cord was wrapped around your neck when you were being born. You could not breathe, and you felt like you were never going to be allowed to speak. And she just flipped around, because when I do HeartThread, I'll stand at a person's back and put my hands on their back and maybe move my hands up and down. She flipped around and she's like, that's exactly what happened. This is the scar from when the umbilical cord was wrapped around my neck. And we both just started laughing. I mean, imagine laughing in a moment like that. But the break of energy, and we got it. And if you do any sort of body work or heart work, or I imagine most of you on this line are, healers. And if you aren't in a formal way, you're a healer when you're having a conversation with your friend, or you're texting them a note at the precise right moment that they need to hear that message. And this is the beauty when we get into that safe space of the heart, and then our body allows us to do these statements. So the statements are coming, from each of you. And something that was actually really excited, because I admire and really honor Flo Magdalena, and she has brought so much phenomenal information through. And as I was doing this work, I got this new idea, and I was like, Flo, I have this really great idea. And she was kind of like, well, we've never done HeartThread that way. I don't know, and just when we first sometimes get ideas, but she was like, well, if you want to try it. And I was like, I've already tried it. It's been working great. And then she tried it and she was like, this is a phenomenal idea. And it's so great when we can build off each other. So I was doing a 3-hour workshop, had about 8 people in the room. I was at Awakenings, if you know Southern California, a store called Awakenings, and didn't know anyone in the room. So then I said, all right, here we're going to close in circle, and we're going to touch in the way I just did. We had done sample HeartThreads. Someone would sit in the center of the circle. I'd give them a HeartThread. And I said, and here's how it's going to work. I'm not going to lead it. We are going to all open us. And then as you feel, you say a statement that should be said aloud. that you feel, to invite people to say aloud. And that's how we did it, and just popcorn style. And it was so profound. And there was one statement, I just started bawling, and the guy was like, I just healed the healer. And I said, well, this is the truth. We're the student and the teacher, you know, in these interchanging moments. And it's so beautiful. So that is one of my favorite ways to do that, is to close out groups. And I just am curious if anyone has a question about HeartThread, or a comment, or a share.
I thought Talia was going to say something.
You read my mind.
I'm getting good, aren't I?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we're reading each other. I was going to ask you, Karen, when you just gave those words that we recited after you, is that like something that you have planned or written, or know what you're going to say ahead of time? Or is it something that just comes to you as you're saying it?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So it actually just comes to me in the moment, and it's getting, if I'm working one-on-one, then it's coming mostly from that person's body. And that information is personal, it's coming to them. So when we do it in a group, a lot of times people will say, I was thinking that exact thing, or that's exactly my issue. And the truth about humanity is we do have 4, 5, 6 core issues that are the same: feeling worthy, feeling loved, you know, these things. So sometimes those will come up, but others are much more detailed. There's a word escaping, not coming to me right now, but precise. And so when I'll do it in a group, and let's say Dina is like, you know, that's personal to her, but then someone way over on the other side, you know, is saying, like Noelle is like, oh my gosh, that's the same, and we don't even know each other. So Talia, the statements are literally coming from each individual person's, like for this in a group, from your body, your field. However, I said something in the beginning to the effect of all the things that we work on, because there really did seem to be this theme that was fitting, like in unity, which in my brain, if I try to analyze it, I was thinking about the political climate right now, you know, like, oh, I wonder if that was related to the political climate. But I try to not worry too much about analyzing that stuff, and trusting what comes out. So yeah, it's really coming from you. And that's why, like, if you and David wanted to play with it, you know, you could each sit across from one another, close your eyes, hands on your heart, and then one of you, like, let's say your eyes are closed. I mean, Talia, you've had sessions from me before. So let's say David's going to do the words. So he'll invite you to say 1 or 2 statements, and you can play with it and see, like, wow, he was really right on, or no, he wasn't. But, you know, that's how we learn how to trust what we're hearing from the heart field.
Yes, that's beautiful. And because a lot of those words that you were saying struck me. I mean, I could feel there was something going on. That's why I was wondering.
Yeah. It's individualized to the people. So Noelle, I do want to be, it's 6:06. I want to be mindful of people's time. I'm happy, you know me, I can always talk forever. I want to also, I'd like to see if anyone has any comments. I'd like to see if Dana has anything she wants to say that relates to the heart coherent field and her brilliant research. Thank you for doing all that. And then I also would love, between Dana and Noelle and anyone else, a little plug about, you know, the caravan and Unity Week and all of that. So does anyone have a share that they might want to, or something on their heart, or even a statement they might have felt was left unsaid and you'd like to shout it out and we can say it aloud? And if not, then we'll go, maybe Dana, if you don't mind some offering.
Well, I'll just say something before Dana pops in, if that's okay.
Please.
I felt, and maybe it was because of what I was reading, but I've been reading the Joseph Communications. And one of the guides, you know, was just talking about existence is compulsory, and was talking about, you know, people who commit suicide and think that's the end, that they can end it all. And of course, we're eternal beings and that can't happen. But something about suicide just, I mean, I've never had a suicidal thought, don't get me wrong, but it just felt like if so many people could hear those words, could speak those words for themselves, would it take them back from the ledge? You know, it just feels like that's what's happening in our society, is that who speaks those words for them or to them to help them, you know, because we have, you know, just between the, you know, our freedoms being limited by COVID. I don't want to get into that discussion, but, you know, there are restrictions on us right now. And I know that the mental health issues are escalating, as are the, you know, suicide rates. And I just had this feeling, is like, you know, I don't know, it just came into my mind, is that it will be so helpful, you know, for.
Yeah, a couple really beautiful things on that point. I have just recently been ignited to really focus on, you know, the human trafficking issue, and it, you know, different from, it's been child abuse, but I sort of took it to this angle of human trafficking, right? And I mentioned that to my 26-year-old, and the next day he texts back, also, could we put suicide awareness on the list, you know? And of course, I mean, I was good for a few hours actually, and then I text back, oh wait, is there any, should I be concerned that you said that, right? Is there awareness I need to have about you mentioning that? Are you, or is somebody in your arena having some challenges? And he's like, no, I just meant for you to have that in your awareness. And so it is in the field so strong, because that particular child is extremely intuitive, and he picks up on things. And I don't know that he even realizes that he's channeling what's happening in the world. Mm-hmm. So I've played with this, and I'm inviting each and every one of you, if you have any, and I really feel like Dana's going to be able to also touch on this one, because I think this is what might be happening. But I feel like I've done this where I just say, hey, let's do HeartThread at 12 o'clock for like 15 minutes, in particular to people dealing with suicidal thoughts, or to the starving children, or so focused HeartThreads, focused intentions. So that's one way I think we can help each other. And I know there's got to be more tangible ways, Noelle. So I really love that you brought that up. Mm-hmm. And
I've just been talking to one of your sons, that's all.
Probably. So yeah. And Dana,
I had to jump off, just want to let you know.
Okay. And Dana, isn't that a little like, you know, Heart Math and the Pulse group, I mean, they're doing things like this with these timed.
Yeah, the Global Coherence Initiative, huge network of people all over the planet sending focused, coherent energy, basically love and care with an intention.
Yes.
For the planet's healing and evolution. So that's a huge initiative that's been going on for a long time.
Can you put some of those things in the chat room where people, if they wanted to look at that, what's the best resource? Is it to go to Heart Math and find those resources?
Yeah, it's a part of the Heart Math's website, GCI, but I can put it, I'll put it in there. And I also lead people often in creating an amplified coherent heart field. So going into a state of coherence ourselves, and then extending that out to the group, so that we're actually interconnecting and merging our heart fields to create an amplified coherent heart field, more than the sum of its parts. And that creates a very special, what I think of as an alchemical container for transformation. And I often use that in the context of sending our intention to the planet for planetary work of healing and evolution of the planet. But yeah, I observe that that's what we create here in your process, the HeartThread, that also we were doing a different mode of creating an amplified coherent heart field, you know, all interconnecting, and then you tapping into that collective consciousness or collective energy in a way, and bringing through what was appropriate for the group. And
I honestly, so two things. One, I honestly feel like sometimes I'm like, is this for real? Because I feel like I'm a little kid when I was about 5-6 years old, and we got the 2 tin cans and the string, and we're literally communicating like it's on the heart, and then I hear the other heart. And I shared that once, and then 2 beautiful people, and if anyone knows her website, but Name Martian, she's on Facebook, Marsin. Can't think of like where to access her podcast, but she ended up using that as a logo, the 2 tin cans, you know, speaking from the heart. And then Dana, do you have like in 2 to 3 sentences that statistic of when we are at such and such megahertz, our body is in a coherent state, and then XYZ can happen about our stress levels and cortisone levels? And
Well, the resonant frequency of the coherent state is 0.1 hertz, and that equals a 10-second rhythm. So at 0.1 hertz, that's the rhythm that the heart goes into in coherence, and then the other rhythms of the body all entrain with that rhythm. So it's a state of being highly synchronized. And I believe it's also a state in which we become more of a conduit, more of a clear conduit to our larger awareness. And we call it the body's, or I call it the body's signature of love, because it's states of love and states that are sourced in love that naturally shift us into coherence. And I liked what you said about when we remove the limiting the scaffolding of our limiting beliefs, then we create more space for our light.
yeah.
And that is like we create more space to be in coherence by removing those things that block us from that deeper state that really is our natural state, because we're hardwired to live in love.
That's exactly it. Oh, there's so many things I could say back to you. So let me just take a breath. So I think we
You
all
probably
call
need to be
that
closing it, bringing it on in.
2 minutes. Okay. Heart rate variance. So I love that. So we are born to be light and love. And imagine that child that comes through the womb and then is physically abused, you know, at birth, at 3 months old, you know, because of the pain that's in their parents or whomever is doing that. And that's some pretty sticky scaffolding in their body, right? That they go through life with. Yet we're able to shift that from being in this heart field. So the truth is, and if you do look at a baby who has the, you know, opportunity of coming into the world in a loving, safe environment, and you watch them, I mean, you can't help but smile and laugh, and then you get into that coherent state. You know, you know, it's so powerful. So I let to just, you know, a couple technical things.
Before you go there, Karen,
yes.
someone would like to speak with you.
Please.
Sophie?
Oh, Sophie, great. Hi, Sophie.
Hi, Karen. Hi. Yes, I wanted to share 2 things that came to my awareness when I was listening to you, which really resonated with me. Once was and kind of tied up to suicidal thoughts and that kind of being stuck in that kind of consciousness is the power of the shield. Yeah, what you're describing when you think this protection mechanism is a shield, and it's so shielded around the throat and around the heart as a protective mechanism, that hearing the statement inside is what is creating the alchemy in the. And I love that because you're using the channel of the heart. The channel of the heart is a lot more, it's a quicker channel because feelings communicate to you quicker than thoughts. And so I could, when you were describing the protection mechanism, I was so grateful because it's one of the to me, it seems one of the hardest pathway, because every time you're being met by the shield, literally your body feels that it's going to collapse. And a lot of people that have a hard time embodying their feelings and staying grounded will have these very heightened state of wanting to exit the body. So being crossed by the shield as you're making your statements is the hardest, is having the ability to repeat it and to hear yourself inward as these feelings resonate. And when they get resonated through these shields, it's going completely incoherent because the grid is so frazzled. And yeah, so frazzled and corrupted. So this is what it felt to me when I was listening to you, is the discomfort when being met by the shield can only be handled by the heart, by the frequency of the heart, because it needs to be very powerful to be able to handle that.
That is, you said that so powerfully, and there's so much truth in what you just said. And I do like to use Jesus Christ as an example. I did grow up Catholic, so I got to hear a lot of stories about him, and I felt like he was like a best friend. And the thing is about, he used to just walk around, and because he was so full of light, people around him healed. And he told us that we could do the same thing and more. And that was a truth I remembered from when I was a child. And that is what I feel like when people ask about protection and guarding and this and that, you know, if we aren't dealing with a lot of illness, mental, physical, or otherwise, you know, if we aren't on an overwhelm of illness within our mental state and our physical state, this modality can course correct and realign. And we are so filled with light that we don't have to think about necessarily, you know, doing these extra layers of protection, so to speak. The light will simply transform it. And I talk a lot about, if you are in a different state of mental illness and more challenges, this modality might not work. And if it's not working, then who do you need to reach out to? What other assistance do you need to get? So I always like to remind people of that, you know, as well. Flo has worked in a mental hospital as a nurse before she started to do a lot of this work. And she personally has a lot of experience using HeartThread with people who have had some of the, you know, more mental challenges, and has had great results with it. So, okay. Yeah. So good. Noelle, was there anyone else that...
No, I think we're about ready to conclude. Is that okay?
So I have a quick question. When you put all these things in the chat, so once we close Zoom, that goes away, right? So you want to be jotting it down. Okay. While...
Look down at the chat and you'll see lower right-hand corner, you'll see 3 dots.
Okay, got that.
Click on that, and then it'll say save chat.
Okay. Noelle, I love Noelle. She's always teaching me in the moment. So, one, on a technical point, Dana, I think through Noelle, I could get in touch with you, contact-wise information, right, Noelle?
Yeah, and Dana's also part of the UpConvergence. She was on the training the other day. I think you were too, weren't you? Or anyway, I'll get you connected.
Yeah, perfect, thank you. And yeah. I see Thomas. Hi, Thomas. So I want to say thank you so much to each and every one of you for being on. Remember that you can do a HeartThread selfie, and one of the young kids termed that because of, you know, we're always taking selfies. So hand on your heart, say some statements aloud. Trust yourself, trust yourself, trust yourself. And then if we could just give a shout out to where's the best place for people to learn more about the caravan and the UpConvergence and Peace Weekend.
Okay, well, I put it in the chat. If you go to www.peaceweekend.org/up, you will get all the information you need. So you can also go on Facebook and look for Caravan of Unity. That, I think that'll do it. It's going on now through September 28th, actually. We're going to have the final event on the mall and the Lincoln Memorial Steps. And I will be there, as we were for the commitment part this past weekend. So another trip to DC for us.
Yay. And then for my portion, I just want to close with this one very short quote from Ram Dass.
Okay.
I think the only really viable living social institution is the human heart. So I'll say it one more time. I think the only really viable living social institution is the human heart. Anything less than living truth is demeaning to the human condition.
Beautiful.
Lots of love.
Thank you so much, Karen.
Yeah, that's right on. Hey, can you hear me over there, Noelle? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can, Valentine.
Just say quick hi. I just want to say quick hi. I've been listening. And to the gal that just spoke with, I was with Ram Dass personally, you know, actually helping him with his own personal healing in Maui. I've been here 30 years, and we would be connected